Well, welcome Brian, thank you very much for spending time with us today. My name is Ryan, we've met before, and this is Chris.
Hello, Chris. Lovely to meet you.
Hi.
So, go Chris.
Yeah. So, Edinburgh Festival, you're here with your wife's she/her.
Yeah.
You famously made a quote that we've read saying that you never really wanted to do any directing because it was too consuming. And now...
Well, I'm not directing, I'm producing.
I don't know, yeah, that's what I said.
No, producer is a much better position to be in.
That's exactly what we're going to ask
you. Well, it's a better position in one sense, but most producers are questionable, so to say the least. So, no, I came on board because basically, the thing is that my wife was looking for sponsors and money for the show and all that, and I kept thinking, this is going to be so time-consuming, and I just thought, well, I'm earning some money at the moment doing my TV shows, so I thought, well, why don't you just pay for it and then hopefully claim it all on tax. It's a loss, because it will be a loss. I mean, we're doing well, we're getting good stuff, but this festival is quiet, to say the least, compared to, and I think people are just getting back into the swing, so that'll take a time. This is why it'll be a great festival for Nicola to take over next year. Mind you, she's the proper festival, but I think and I think Fergus has done a phenomenal job in the last few years. But I actually think that it will take time for the audiences to get used to coming back, COVID and all that. And that's been the problem, that there's lots of shows, but there isn't a lot of audience. Well, there's a bit of audience, but there's not as much as there's been in previous years because of COVID and what have you.
No, I hear that. As you were saying there, it's, do you know what I mean, these days with Edinburgh Fringe, it can be very hard. It's quite a barrier to entry almost for putting your things out there, and you see these days that especially for somebody from a more working class background try to make it up and go in and put a show on or something that, as I said,
well, it's hard. It's hard anyway. I mean, we're at a dangerous time, I think, just now because of expense, money. It's always to do with money. I'm actually doing a documentary on money at the moment. And it's been very depressing to do. I was up in food banks, not food banks. It's called Kitchen Larders in Dundee, where and people want to keep their dignity. Yeah. And the whole food bank thing has just become ridiculous. So they do this kitchen larder where you pay £2 for tin goods, £4 for tin and dry goods, £6 for tin and dry goods and dairy goods. And people come and they do it, and they want to do it, they want to spend. So, and the money option is always the difficulty because of what's happening in this town is that, you're getting young artists coming out here and they can't afford it. So what's happening is we're getting a drop off of people saying, I can't afford to go to Edinburgh, I just simply can't afford it. And they are, there's always been this thing of 15 people in a room here, but it doesn't happen like that anymore. But you still will pay £100 for a cupboard, and that's a lot of money. To struggling artists, that's a considerable lot of money. So, something has to be done about just keeping Edinburgh in line, so that the young people, the young artists can come, young comedians can come and feel safe. Well, they're never safe, but feel a little bit more secure.
Do you think then that that is kind of a solution, just to try and keep Edinburgh like that, or do you think, me and Chris were talking before it about maybe even pulling everything right back to its roots and maybe even try to start like a grassroots kind of Glasgow Fringe or something again that could come up from the beginning? And
I don't know. I mean, Glasgow had a thing going for a while. I've never understood why Glasgow hasn't followed suit. I mean, this has been going on for so long, and it's an institution, the Fringe, and it. No disrespect to Glasgow, and I'm a Dundonian, so I'll never get into that that Glasgow, Edinburgh discussion. I'll have nothing to do with it. But I do think that Edinburgh this is unique, this festival. There's nowhere else like it in the world. And people who come from America, come from Germany, they can't believe what it is like. And they can't believe what's there for them. I don't know why Glasgow's been so slow on the uptake, quite honestly, because it's a big city. It's people love it. They love going. And the Glasgow folk are some of the greatest folk in Scotland, you know. So I find it very odd that nobody's actually kind of knuckled down and got it going. I think there was a few years ago there was an attempt at some kind of fringy thing, and Glasgow would be right for it. But it's baby steps. You have to start. We've you know, it's been going on since, you know, I think I can't remember when the first Fringe was, but it was certainly probably late 50s, early 60s.
It's the 75th year, as this is.
Well, that's the official festival.
Official festival.
But I'm trying to think how long the Fringe Festival has probably been going on as long as that. I'm not sure. It's a very good question.
Yeah, excellent.
So leading on to some of your TV work that you've done, you're up again for another Emmy.
Congratulations, brother.
Congratulations, it's excellent. Absolute massive fan of Succession, huge show. How does it feel when you're up against somebody as good as Jeremy Strong as well, and he's up for the exact same award? And this is the thing, it's the second time you've been up against each other.
Well, I think what we do is we tend to split the vote. That's the problem. And so nobody hits it.
Yeah, really better that way.
You know, and I think we've done that on, certainly I think the last time we certainly did that, you know. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I got my Golden Globe. I'm quite happy with that. My favourite thing is the Ensemble Award. And actually physically it's the best award that you get from SAG. Yeah. And we got that. And
thank you, everybody, for everything. And, you know, we just want to, you know, we thank HBO, who've really, really taken care of us. We want to thank our fantastic writers. Jesse is a genius, no question about it.
That, to me, is more important than the individual award, and including myself in that, the individual awards. The individual award thing is sort of contentious. I mean, I feel that, for instance, there's Jeremy, there's me, there's the Korean guy again, there's Bob Odenkirk, I think Jason Bateman, I can't remember.
Yeah, Bateman's there.
Bateman's there. Now, I would think that Bateman and Bob are probably in a better position than either Jeremy or me, because it's their last season. You know, it's the last season of Better Call Saul, and it's the last season of Ozark. So I think they're probably with a chance of getting it rather than me, and maybe we'll get it. I mean, I don't know how long our show's going to go on for. So it's hard to say, and also it's a bit of a crapshoot, quite honestly, the whole business of awards. You know, I mean, you have to treat it with respect, but you mustn't take it seriously.
Yeah,
you know, it would be a disaster to take it too seriously. And I don't, you know, I just say, fine, thank you very much, nice, but also there's a whole brouhaha, which sometimes is really exhausting. I mean, I have to go to Australia next week because I'm doing the book festivals in Melbourne and Sydney, and they're squeezing me up to the wazoo. And then I fly literally to LA to do the following day the Emmys. And then from there I fly to Toronto because I've got a film in Toronto. So it's
sometimes wish you could
a lot of journey.
Let's sit one of them out maybe.
Yeah, a lot of travel.
237 credits to your name just now.
What's that?
Yes. It's been a long career.
It certainly has.
I've been at it since I was 15, so I've been at it for 61 years.
Wow.
Oh, that is excellent, that is excellent. And, you know, you have got a lot of things in there from absolute, I don't know, epics and stuff like Troy, and then you've got...
Apparently you won some great victory.
Perhaps you didn't notice. The Trojan beach belonged to Priam in the morning. It belongs to Agamemnon in the afternoon.
Cult classic things, like I said before, like Super Troopers and all.
I just got off the phone with Tom Mercado from the Budget Committee. This thing with Farber's screwed up pooch.
What? They can't lump us in with that fucking Martian.
We're all in the same boat, fellas.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really. Evil shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
I don't know, my friends grew up watching that. Do you know, it's a great cult classic. So you've got the whole genres there.
Well, I'm trying to do that, you see, deliberately, because I never wanted to be pinned down. I mean, they all think I'm the bad man, you know, and of course, yeah, fine, if they pay me, fine, I'm the bad man.
Yeah.
But, you know, and also my view of Logan Roy is different from everybody else's view. I actually quite like Logan Roy. I think Logan is, all he's trying to do is find a successor for his business, and he's trying to find it among these hopeless children that he has, you know. That's his problem. But no, I mean, I think the variety is what's the spice of life, and that's what's been more important to me, is varying it from whatever I've done in film. I've tried to do something different, you know. I mean, I've got 3 films coming up now, and one I play a Vietnam vet, the other one I play a guy who's just come out of prison, and the third one I play this very respectable journalist. And that's the key to me, is that I do something which is different. And then, of course, I still have hankerings because of my first love. I still have well, not my first love, actually. My first love was always movies, but my sophisticated love was the theatre. So I want to go back, and I'd certainly like to come back to Scotland and do some theatre. You know, I mean, I've got some plans, and I'm also hoping to direct my first ever film next year. Wow. And it's a Scots film. It's a film that will be set here, and we're trying to, you know, we've got a great script which we've been developing for the last 2 years. So with the wonderful writer David Ashton, who's where's David from? Oh, he's from Greenock.
Oh, right. Excellent.
I do a cop series on the radio called McCleavy. Do you know about that?
I think that's when is that radio? On the radio?
I've been doing it for 12 years.
Yeah.
Nobody listens to the radio. The best medium ever. Because you don't dress up, you don't wear makeup, you read your script, it's perfect. No, I've been doing that, and David wrote them, and they're great, absolutely great. We did them at the BBC here, and we did them also south. So, I did that for 12 years, and now he's gone to San Francisco, and I do it with Siobhan Redmond. So so now David then wrote the script, so we're hoping to get it. It's called Glenrothen. It's set in a distillery in Scotland. It's about a family-owned distillery, and about basically 2 brothers, the one who stayed behind, which is the one I'm playing, and then there's the other brother who is totally Americanized, who's a jazz musician. A jazz journalist, and he writes about jazz, and he's come to a career. He left 40 years before, and he was the boy distiller who was very gifted. Sandy, the character I play, he was left because his brother ran off, so he was left holding the baby, and he's just nursed it along, and then he had his successor, which was we think would be the first ever female distiller there was, you know. Yeah. So we're doing that, and it's a great script, you know, and it's about this guy coming back and refinding his roots, even though he's completely Americanized, and finding his, you know, he's haunted by the ghost of his mother as well, and it's a beautiful story. So
sounds really. We need to keep an eye out for that.
We're trying to make it next summer. That's my plan, and then I'm going to go and do a stage play immediately after that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So in films like that are a bit more kind of indie and a wee bit more away from the whole kind of Hollywood thing, we're going to say, like, with shows like Succession that have a bit more of a, you know, character development to them, a bit more kind of Shakespearean in a sense, do you think that is something that is kind of reflected, that most kind of character-driven stuff now is either in, you know, your TV shows and your streaming, etc., or more to kind of indie projects, and the big kind of Hollywood ones of, you know, kind of like some people are talking about kind of death of cinema. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Well, really. I think cinema's in a very bad way. I mean, I really do. I don't think you see, the other thing too is that what's happened is that television has broken the 3-act rule, because it's a beginning, endless second act, and then it ends.
Yeah.
And I think that's the great thing from a writer's point of view, and from an actor's point of view. You get to develop. I mean, that's the joy of doing something like Succession. because you can work on your character over a period of 3 or 4 years. Well, actually, we've been doing it since 2016. So, you know, we're into our 6th year, you know, with obvious interruptions. But I think that's the way of, I think television's beaten everybody. You know, I think and streaming. See, we moved in a different way. We can see everything. You know, we've got the computer, what have you, there it is, and we've got it accessing. And the work is incredible. I mean, the shows are amazing. I mean, I've been watching The Offer. Have you seen The Offer?
Yeah.
Oh, I urge you to see The Offer. It's a great, great show. It's on Paramount Plus, and it's about the making of The Godfather.
Oh, really?
And it's a fantastic series
Right.
with a very good actor called Miles Teller playing.
Miles Teller, yeah.
He's playing Al Ruddy, who was the producer, who was given the task of producing The Godfather, and he did, dealing with the mafia, dealing with everybody, and it's a fantastic. And there's a great performance by Matthew Good as Robert Evans, the famous producer, who I actually met 100 years ago. And so that show is excellent, and there's many shows like that out there. Now, film is not competing, and it's not going back. I mean, I'm a big classic film guy. I mean, I watch Turner Classic Movies ad infinitum because of the history of film, and I'm really into that and the development of film. But I think because of the Marvel and the DC world, they've sort of colonized the cinema industry in a way, and not in a particularly healthy way.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to get a film out there, and especially what we've been through recently with COVID and what have you, and people going back to cinema. People are going back because people like to be together. You know, that's what they like. You know, that's why, you know, and we forget about that an audience likes to be together. But the streaming has really done so much in terms of accessibility over the last couple of years that we can see the most amazing stuff. And stuff is getting made. I mean, New York, where I now live, it's got at least 25% of the TV and film industry. It's not all in LA. I mean, there's New York, Atlanta, and LA, and that's where it's all. And then, of course, Canada thrown into the mix as well. So it's not Hollywood anymore. I mean, I live in New York. My series is shot in New York, or Croatia, or Italy, as we did in the last, or Dundee, as we also did. So it's a much more flexible thing now. You know, it's not rooted in the old system, and the system is shifting. But in order to preserve the film element, there needs to be a massive rethink. It really does, and it's not being considered anymore. But maybe it will just go into the streaming, because I think people just love the idea of developing and watching characters over a length of time.
You bring up the MCU, the whole Marvel world and universe that's currently ever expanding, like it says, have colonised a lot of the film world just now. Now, you, for me, was one of the first places I ever discovered you.
X-Men films, yep.
X-Men for William Stryker was one of the first places where I discovered you as an actor.
Yeah.
Closer than anyone's admitted.
What do you need, William?
Just your authorization for a special operation. I know, thank you, Mr. President.
And somehow I thought you were here to talk about school reform.
Funny you should say that, Mr. President.
Senator Kelly, this is Colonel William Stryker.
How do you do?
And I absolutely loved you in it, and then just fell in love with, you were one of my go-to actors to watch. Now, obviously, with the MCU exploding the way it is in multiple universes, would you ever consider going back to playing someone like that